From Portland International Raceway, Joe Samaniego, Nicole Fry from Fans in Focus Media. Nicole, for the second time, we've seen Alex Palou clinch the championship here at Portland International Raceway. 3 consecutive championships, 4 in 5 years. Is this the Alex Palou dynasty?
I think it is. I think right now he is just absolutely unstoppable. He has had such a great season. He's had such a great year. He's had such a great couple of years, to be honest. And I think right now there's really nothing stopping him or his team from continuing that streak on in the future.
Now, people are going to remember this, that Pato O'Ward led early in the race, made the pit stop. Then as he was running, we saw electrical issues take him out. Tough break. We saw Chevrolet, they were doing what they could, but tough break for him. What are your thoughts on what happened to Pato O'Ward's team and how the race ended and his championship ended?
It was just a very sad race, I think, for Pato O'Ward and the Arrow McLaren team. Obviously, it was kind of a freak fluke issue, something that no one was expecting. I believe it ended up being some electrical issues around some component in his car that really just caused not only that big dramatic push from his team to get him into the pit lane, but also the very prolonged pit stop that they had to do in order to get everything kind of sorted out. Watching from the pit lane was incredibly heartbreaking, to say the least. They were working so hard to try to figure out just what was going on in the first place, and then trying to figure out how in the world they could fix it. So I do think that this is definitely going to have a big impact on his championship battle. We'll have to see how he kind of recovers in Nashville and how the team kind of reacts to this.
Now, the one thing I can't help but think about, 2020, 2021, when Alex Palou claimed his first championship against Pato O'Ward. Pato O'Ward was taken out early in the race by mistake by, I believe it was Jordan King, excuse me. This year, something again out of his control. Do you think this is just something where maybe there might be a little bit of nerves when it comes to that team, or just because in Long Beach he had a poor start, here great start, but there's just something, Tony Kanaan says it's nobody's fault, but just one of those fluke deals?
I do think it's a fluke deal, and I think it's just really unfortunate timing, because these are things that happen, and on a normal day, on a normal racetrack for a normal driver, this wouldn't really be like a championship-ending issue, potentially. And unfortunately, he has just ran into this several times over and over, and it's always something that is completely out of his control for the most part. So all in all, I think it's just a really bad stint of some bad luck, and we'll just kind of have to see how they kind of deal with this in the future.
Now, one driver, no luck, but hard racing to get the win. Will Power took the lead very early, managed to hold on, make the strategy work, and we thought he was in trouble. Used red, Lundgaard, Palou, fresher red. How amazed were you by Will's performance today?
I was absolutely surprised, so delighted. It was so fun to see, and being in the crowd, waiting for the podium to see who would actually win the race. It was so fun to hear the cheer go out when he decided to cross the finish line first. It was absolutely amazing, and I think it was even better that we got to speak with him earlier in the week, kind of talking about how Portland was his first ever win, and now to have this be his first win of the season, I think it was just a very special moment.
And now he's tied with Michael Andretti, Al Unser Jr. for 3 wins here, the most of any IndyCar driver. And of course, a lot of people were talking about his future. David Malukas wasn't a factor at all today. In fact, we're seeing Will Power exiting the media center. Will Power made a powerful statement saying it feels like he should be back in that seat. Do you agree? Especially since he's the only Penske driver to get a win. He's the highest Penske driver in the points. And with this win, 2 races to go, I don't see him slowing down anytime soon.
No, I think he absolutely deserves to be back in that seat. I think he's definitely on a roll. I think he's still in his prime as a driver, and I think this race today just kind of goes to show that maybe they've had a little bit of an unlucky season, maybe needed to improve some things, but at the end of the day, he is still a driver who can battle for wins and potentially even a championship even in the future.
So it's going to be very interesting, Will Power's future, because we're going to find that out later in the season. At Grid Tonight, we'll have those updates. This race, we had 3 caution flags. All of them found in pretty quickly. Santino Ferrucci having issues. Connor Daly, a hard hit. I managed to catch a glimpse of when Connor Daly went off the track earlier. I believe it was Rasmussen that he had the contact, and then the aggressive hit. Do you feel like this was a race incident, or do you think somebody was trying to pay back somebody? Because those two were making contact early on.
Well, if you believe Connor Daly, I think he definitely believes that this was definitely an intentional incident. I think from our perspective, it's kind of hard to tell. These things do just happen on track occasionally, and it could have just been a little bit of bad luck. Obviously, until one of the drivers come forward and say whether or not it was intentional or not, we'll never know.
Now, with Connor Daly out of the race, it's one of those deals where he was really looking forward to this race. It was his first race with Hunko's Hollinger. But the good news for him, he got Milwaukee Mile, where he got a podium, he could rebound. I think another driver that has to feel pretty good about his day, Graham Rahal. Strong run. Qualifying wasn't there, but I think he still shows he can make some magic happen.
Absolutely, and I think this race today was just very surprising on all fronts, and that is definitely one of the most surprising moments we saw. I think the drivers today battled the heat and battled the elements so incredibly well, and they did such a wonderful job when it came to their tire strategy and their tire management, and I think it definitely goes to show how hard their team worked to make sure that they could have a good race today.
It was a great race. I know one of the big things, of course, with this racetrack, 1.9 miles, the pit stops were very critical, and the key moment was Will Power coming out ahead of Christian Lundgaard. Does it just really emphasize, like, this may not be the biggest, longest track, like, say, a Road of America, or, of course, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway at 2 miles, but your pit stops here are just as important as anywhere, because the winning move, essentially the winning pass, was that round of pit stops.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Portland, the way it's situated, both as a track and in the calendar, is absolutely critical. And by this point in the season, teams need to have every single moment down when it comes to their pit stop, because it matters here more than almost any other track this late in the season. We've seen the championship get claimed here multiple times now, and it's so critical that they're able to take advantage of every single moment on track and in that pit lane.
Now the championship, it's over, but the season's not over. 2 ovals, the Milwaukee Mile and then Nashville Super Speedway. When it comes to these 2 ovals, we see plenty of action. Now nobody's caring about the championship. What's the mentality you think of most drivers? I think for like Pato O'Ward is just go out there, try to get the win, some good finishes. Will Power, he's still determined. Penske drivers, Newgarden and McLaughlin, they want to get a win. Do you anticipate we're going to see some chaotic race in the next 2 rounds?
I do. Now that we have the championship kind of wrapped up and we've seen the possibility for a new driver of the season to get their first win, I think drivers are going to be more motivated than ever, not only to score some points and maybe a win or a podium for their team, but also to prove to these other teams that they need a contract for next year. So every driver who is still kind of hunting for their future contract is definitely going to use these couple of races to really prove what they've got.
And we encourage everyone to subscribe, hit the bell icon so you don't miss any Grid Network programming right here on YouTube, across social media at Grid Network TV, and a big thank you to our Patreon investors, Colin, Deschelle, Mark, Robert, David, and Matthew for making this weekend possible. Nicole, thank you so much for making this weekend possible. Overall, what are you going to remember the most from the 2025 Grand Prix of Portland?
I think I'm going to remember the heat and some really, really dramatic pit stops. I think that's my biggest takeaway.
The heat, that's definitely going to stand out. I think, again, Will Powers just seemed to be a popular win the way this season's been going. And, of course, Alex Palou, 4 championships. He cannot break the record for the most wins in the season, but he could certainly tie the record. For Nicole Fryer at Fat and Focus Media, I'm Joe Sandiego. Thank you for tuning in all week. We'll see you next time. Grid Encore this week, Grid tonight, and we'll do it all over again next race weekend. Thank you.